Hey everyone, Duan here. So I know it's been a long time since I made my last video. It's just I've been super swamped with work. I actually got promoted at my day job, and then I was made program coordinator for Guinea, where I was a Peace Corps volunteer. So I got the chance to travel back to Guinea, and since then I've just been working a ton to make sure that things can go smoothly in country. I did see some comments though and just some messages, and then I was thinking about what to address in this video. And I wanted to address kind of what your next steps should be after Peace Corps, at least just some things to think about. So let's say when you're finishing your service, there are really three things um, you can do, three main things, right? You can go to grad school, you can go find a job, or you can continue your service. And again, there's a fourth one where you can just go travel, but eventually you have to go back to one of those three, right? You have to you have to work, you have to find some way to have a living. So let's talk about if you want to go to grad school. Um, I did go straight back into grad school after my Peace Corps service, and I actually don't recommend it unless you really, really know what you want to do. You've really done your homework. And so, some of the things that you should be doing if you want to do grad school right after your service. Number one, start planning early, at least a year in advance. This will give you time to research all the programs that you are interested in, try and figure out what sort of program is right for you. Look into finances, try and get some scholarships, financial aid applications, see where you're going to be living, getting the right references from old professors or old supervisors, and just doing the applications in general. For me, I could only use the internet once every month, sometimes once every 6 weeks, and so for me to find time and find electricity and find internet to fill out my applications was really difficult. I feel like I was up to the wire doing all that, even though I started super early. Um, there's also tests that you might have to take. I took the GREs before my Peace Corps service, and I think they were still good by the time I applied. Other people, they had to leave the country. They had to fly back to the States to take a certain test. If you're trying to be, a foreign service officer, you're going to have to take tests as well. So really just, if you're thinking about going to grad school, make sure you know it's the right choice for you. Don't be shy about taking time off to think about it. Most Peace Corps volunteers are still in their early 20s. They don't need to go right into grad school or even right into a job right after they leave their service. Um, Try and see what you can do with that Peace Corps money. You have about $7,000. If you need to take a break, take a break. Work some sort of service job just to hold you through until you can kind of really reflect on if whether or not grad school is right for you. You should also be talking with other Peace Corps volunteers, see what they're saying, seeing what they're doing, try and find support for each other's ideas, and also try and find someone who's going to maybe um, give you some criticism, if they're saying like, oh, I'm just gonna go back to like my undergrad to finish grad school, and I'm gonna do this because it seems right. That's not the right type of choice. You want someone who's going to be saying like, that is the right choice, and these are the reasons why it's the right choice. This is how I see my career going out. Really, really think about that. I actually liked what I did in grad school. I liked the work, but I just didn't like the environment, and so that's why I left engineering. That's a whole different thing. Um, but who knows? Maybe I could have had a better job right after at school and Peace Corps service, so maybe things would have been a little bit different. But again, these are all toss-ups. You never know which hand you're going to get. As for continuing your Peace Corps service, again, that's something you really want to think about well in advance. A lot of people just continue their service in the same role. If I continue my service, I would have said no, I didn't want the same role. I would have said, please put me at the, I was a teacher, so please put me at the prefecture level to work on education for a large group, to work on education for teachers. I want something more advanced than teaching in a classroom. Other volunteers are certainly fine with that. But again, I think doing a third year of service, that's noble, but there are also a lot of other things you could be doing with your time, that might be a little bit more valuable. Again, like you could be changing your role to being a Peace Corps mentor to other Peace Corps volunteers. You could be trying to see if they can shape a response volunteer position for you, which would mean a little bit more income and a little bit more influence over larger issues. You could be just something bigger than just a normal Peace Corps volunteer, but that's always an option. I know some people that have been a Peace Corps volunteer for years. There's an old man in Guinea who's been there for, I don't know, 7 years or so, something like that, and that's crazy to me. But it's just what he wants to do. He's doing the same thing. But I always kind of want to change things a little bit differently. But again, it's a conversation that you should be having very early on, and you really have to think about if you're doing it for the right reasons. Are you doing it because you're afraid of going back to the States and not knowing what you're going to do? Um, I mean, that's okay. And again, you have a nice job as a Peace Corps volunteer. It means you have something to do. But just because you don't know what you're going to do doesn't mean you won't find something to fill in while you figure that out back in the States. Again, like if money's an issue and like you're looking at money, you're not going to make any money as a volunteer, but you will make probably a little bit more doing a service job or something to hold you through while you think about what your next steps are going to be in the States. But yeah, so that's always an option. You can continue your service. I just recommend, trying to expand your role a little bit more, be ambitious, and see how you can help Peace Corps as much as possible and just to fulfill its mission. As for those seeking a job, I'm just going to talk in the context of international development. I'd say most international development jobs for Americans are going to be found in Washington, D.C., and then they're in New York, and then there's other random ones, throughout the country. And so that basically means if you want to work in international development, you probably have to move to Washington, D.C., like I did. Um, and that again just requires a lot of ambition, a lot of hustling, because chances are no one's going to want to interview you over Skype when they don't even know if you're going to be able to make it to the local Wi-Fi cafe. Um, Making an application is going to be super difficult. Yeah, it's just going to be tough. But some of the things you can do if you do manage to get an interview while abroad, just before that, you should be asking other people to look over your resume, look over your cover letter, ask for a mentor, someone who has a job. Tell them how to shape your resume and cover letter to fit every single position you're applying for, and make sure you're not having a generic one. You want to be able to craft each cover letter and resume for each organization you apply to. And if you do manage to get an interview, whether abroad or in DC, make sure you do your homework about that organization. Look up their mission, look up their projects, their values, and be sure to be able to answer questions about those if someone asks you. Like every organization will ask you, which of our values most reflects your character, or which of our projects do you see yourself working on to advance your own career. Those are things to consider. But in the meantime, if you want to move to DC, you're going to have to hustle, and that means picking up side jobs, accepting an unpaid internship or a low-paid internship for a while, and really, really just feeling exhausted often. That's been the case for so many people that I work with now, that I know now. I'm doing my best to help other people, especially for my university, just to try and get jobs, to try and find a place here. And yeah, in terms of finding a place, just be aware that DC is great for public transportation, and there are cheap options out there. You just have to minimize where you're going to be living, I guess. Like you can't just bring your entire life. You've got to bring only maybe 2 suitcases or something to live in a closet, and you're going to share a house with 6 other people. But again, that's what a lot of people do. DC is a town of very young, ambitious professionals who, different than the finance centers in New York. They're not making a lot of money, but they like what they do, and so that's important. If international development isn't for you, as a Peace Corps volunteer, returned Peace Corps volunteer, you always have your non-competitive eligibility, which means you get put to the top of list for federal jobs. And while there are federal jobs in every single state and sometimes even all of the large counties, most of your federal jobs are still going to be in the Washington, D.C. area. And again, that's just something that you have to put at the top of your resume, go to career fairs. People love it when you say you have non-competitive eligibility. I think the environment right now is that veterans, they get put to the top of the list, for better or worse. I don't really know, but it means that they I know some of the higher managers I've talked to feel like they don't have as much diversity in backgrounds and experience as they would like for their applicants. So when you're a returned Peace Corps volunteer and you have non-competitive eligibility, hiring managers really, really like that. They want to give you a shot. They want to give you a chance, and yeah, just again go through the same steps. Look up the organization, their values. Make sure your resume and your cover letter are perfect for them. Ask, try and reach out to people on LinkedIn. I actually got an internship through LinkedIn. I saw a job and I was underqualified for it, so I reached out to the hiring manager and said, "Hey, is there an internship just for me? Like, I want to work with you guys. You guys do great work." And they said, "Yeah." The same thing with other organizations and even federal agencies. If you reach out on LinkedIn to someone and say, "Hey, like I'm kind of interested in the position. Can we talk about it?" Or go on online and see when their career fair is. There's a Peace Corps career fair. There's other career fairs, and look to meet people. It's all about where you end up in life is really about the relationships that you build oftentimes. And so you just have to be ambitious, you have to be aggressive, you have to be ready to hustle, and you have to be able to put your neck out there each time. And you're going to get rejected. Very few people get a yes on their first try, second try, third try. For me, a lot of tries, and it's okay. Just keep moving forward as best as you can. Okay, so again, just to sum up, if you're going to go to college, if you want to get a job, if you want to continue your service, all three, you need to be thinking super early. You need to be doing your homework, and you have to make sure if it's the right choice for you. Talk with others and see about what other people are doing, and just to try and refine your own approach, and also see if what you're thinking is the right choice too. Okay, guys? If you have any questions, please just let me know. See ya.